Hey everyone, Miss Cologne here. We're just going to go over what is the difference between biased random sampling and unbiased random sampling. I want you to keep in mind they both have to do with random sampling. So it's very important to look at it through a logical sense on how can we tell which random sampling is the right method to use. So we're going to start with unbiased sample. An unbiased sample is a good thing. That is something you do want. Okay? We want that one. Okay? The first method for unbiased is where each item or person in the population is a likely chance to be chosen. So it has to be fair. Okay? You need an equal chance. So, what is an example for this problem? Well, what if I pull names out of a hat at random? What if I have students stand in a line and I randomly give candy to certain kids? Or if I have popsicle sticks and I want to call out a specific kid to answer a question and I just randomly pick that popsicle stick out. So, one example you can talk about can be a survey. Now, be careful with that. Not every survey is considered unbiased. Also, like I said, you can pull names out of a hat, random. That is one example of this method. The second method would be if I have a pattern, if there's an intervals, a time interval, or just an interval in general. So for example, and this is one of the key words you need to look for, if it says something like every, that word will help you determine this is an unbiased, because I'm having a pattern. Every what? It can be every fourth student. It could be, again, in time intervals, it could be every 20 seconds. Okay? You need to look for the keyword every. Now, there's a difference between saying every fourth student and the first four students. So reading it that way makes a difference whether you're talking about unbiased or biased. It has to say the word every, whatever the number of student, number of phone, number of situation, whatever the problem is. Every comes in handy because it's a pattern, it's an interval. Now, these two are good. We want to pick random sampling from these two methods. Now, obviously, there are some situations where they are biased sampling, and that's a no-go. That's something you don't want. Okay. Now, two methods for bias, and before we start that, let's go recap what bias means. Bias just basically means you have a strong opinion about something. It's your opinion, you're gonna stick by it, you're closed-minded, you don't wanna hear nobody else's side, that's your pick. Perfect example of bias. If I was to ask a class of students, do you think uniforms should go on in school? There were several students that would be strongly against having uniforms in school. And they would even back it up with their many reasons and valid points. That is bias. They are biased against uniforms. Now, you still have other students who prefer uniforms. They have their reasons, their backup. So they're biased for uniforms. Either way, bias is not good if I need to pick random sampling for an accurate result or conclusion. Okay, so the two methods where I can tell if it's biased right off the bat First is the convenience sample. It's really just using people that are easily assessed. Um, for instance, if I just say, out of my 20 students in my class, if I want to know if chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla ice cream, I am only going to ask the first 3 students who walks in my room because it's convenient for me. Also, it makes it seem like I can get it out of the way. It's easily accessible. So let me just ask the first 3 students. I don't need everyone else's opinions. I don't need everyone else. I'm good. That's an example of bias. You don't want that. You're doing it for your convenience. You're not doing it for accurate conclusions or results. Another method would be something like a voluntary response. And this usually comes often with volunteering. If you're given a survey and you're volunteering to answer the survey. Now, surveys usually have questionnaires or questions that deal with a specific topic, and we just want to know your opinion about that topic. So we only give out responses or surveys to people who are interested and has a strong opinion and will most likely answer the survey or prompt, a questionnaire. So one example for that is through volunteer. I can give you an example. If I tell my 20 students, I need 6 volunteers to help me clean my classroom on a Saturday, I already know maybe 1 or 2 hands are going to be raised. So no one else wants to do that. And they're going to have strong reasons why they don't want to come on a Saturday. Well, it's my Saturday. It's my weekend. I don't want to do any cleaning. I already do that at home. But for the kids who actually volunteer and say, I won't mind helping, I got nothing to do at home. This will help me out. Maybe I can get extra credit. So people who have a strong opinion, it's not a likely response rate, but you still get some people. So volunteers is an example of a voluntary response method. The other method would be if you are answering phone calls or text messages, talking about surveys or a specific topic, anything that's in the mail where you have to complete it and mail it back for your opinion. That is typically a voluntary response. This is usually the worst type of bias because you are going to get the least number of responses back. You kind of want to have a good sample size. Voluntary doesn't help you with that. Okay. Now, when we look over scenarios, because some of them are just 2 sentences, some of them are 3, it looks like a paragraph. So you need to take into account who are we surveying? So we gotta know the kind of people is being asked. What are they being asked? So that's important. If I know who they are, I need to know what they're being asked. Also, what kind of sampling method was used? Am I using a convenience sample? Am I using an interval sample? Am I using a voluntary sample, right? Or equal or fair chance method. So you need to figure out which one is also being used. Now, misconception. Just because the word says random does not mean it's automatically unbiased. Because guess what? Both of these are types of random sampling. So you are going to see the word random anyway. We just need to know what type of random sampling they are. So, looking at number 1. Let's look at 1. Zach is trying to decide which of 3 golf courses in the area is the best. So he randomly surveyed people at a sports store. Now, this is one of the questions that are rare because let's figure out what is being asked. He wants to know which of the 3 golf courses are the best. I know that. And then he is randomly surveying people where though? At a sports store. So this can go 2 ways. Preferably, though, this is actually a biased random sampling. Yes, it's still random, but it's biased because of the location. If I walk into a sports store and I randomly ask a person, and they happen to be holding a golf club or golf balls and golf gloves, and I ask about this scenario, they are most likely going to have a strong opinion because maybe they've been to several golf courses and they know which one is best. So they're most likely going to answer or respond. So this is more biased because of the location. So make sure you look. Who are they asking, where, and what it is about. Now, let's look at the next one. To find how much money, the average American family spends to cool their home. 100 Alaskan families are surveyed at random. Again, just because the word random is in there doesn't automatically assume it's unbiased. So let's figure out what it's asking. It's asking how much money the average American family. Now, when I think of average American, I'm thinking all 50 states of the United States. However, they only ask for Alaskan families. There is none that's in North Carolina. We're not asking families in Colorado. We're not asking families in Texas. Just one out of the 50 states. Well, that doesn't seem right. So we're only being biased because, of course, they're going to say that they spend a certain amount of money to cool their home. So this is also biased. And the reason why it's biased is because they only asked Alaskans. They didn't ask any other families in any other state of the United States. Okay? And then let's jump to just number 4. Let's do number 4. To evaluate the quality of their product, a manufacturer of cell phones checks every 50th phone off the assembly line. Now, we're talking about quality of a product. So what they're going to do is they're going to check every 50th phone. That keyword in there is very important. We're talking about every 50th phone. So because we're doing it in intervals, this is considered unbiased. This is the good random sampling you want to use. So it's unbiased because it is used in intervals. Every 50th phone is being checked. Now, one word can make a big difference. If I was to rewrite this and say, to evaluate the quality of their product, a manufacturer's cell phone checks the first 50 phones. Then this entire statement is now biased because we're only looking at the first 50 phones and we're not looking at anything else after that. That would have been a convenience sample. So be careful what the wordings are in the statements. If we're still stuck, we're going to be working on more of these tomorrow. If you're absent or suspended or coming to school late, but there will be activities and this will be more exercised. Have a good evening.